Hi, welcome to Think Again with Masters Union. I'm Rishi and I cover the rise and fall of Netflix. The Netflix brand has been synonymous with innovation and disruption from humble beginnings in the late 90s to almost single handedly pioneering the contemporary model for digital media consumption. Netflix has been a success in every sense of the word, but being the first at something means that people are just going to imitate you. Over the past decade, the number of streaming platforms has exploded from 1 to over 200 with more coming. This competition, along with creative choices and growth struggles, has led Netflix into a dangerous territory. Netflix's stock price has plummeted by 50% as of the timing of the production of this episode. Staff are being let go, and hundreds of thousands of households are unsubscribing, with even more expected to leave in the year coming. In this episode, we'll take a look at how Netflix rose to the top, what went wrong, and what could be the future. You cannot innovate and be successful for long before others take note of your idea. By the late 2010s, this is exactly what started to happen. At first, the competition was from similar startups, but before long, the mega corporations decided to throw their hat in the ring. Over the past few years, corporations with seemingly endless funds have started rolling out their own streaming services for $5 a month. Apple TV Plus on premium content also for $5 a month. NBC Universal's Peacock took many US sitcoms away from Netflix for $15 per month. HBO released HBO Max and blew critics away with new shows like Succession, and the biggest of all, the tyrannical monster, that is Disney, lost their very own Disney Plus, which took away all the remaining nostalgia from Netflix. As well as adding for context, a standard Netflix account was now pushing $16 per month, making it one of the most expensive options. We'll touch on how this is hurting the company later, but at this point in the story, through all of this added competition, Netflix was still number one and was in store for some big wins thanks to a massive event that was to come out of China. During the early stages of the pandemic, Netflix enjoyed a massive boost in subscribers along with the most other platforms despite its competition. Netflix gained tens of millions of new subscribers over 2020 and into 21, and they became known as the king of the stay-at-home stocks, a category which saw massive investment. Even midway through 2021, Netflix was still gaining subscribers, but this would all change as vaccines rolled out and the pandemic waned. Consumers were no longer homebound and Netflix had a problem. Consumers spent over a year sampling everything that each service had to offer, and now they were well informed to decide which ones they wanted to keep and which ones they wanted to get rid of. The increased quality and quantity of competition, the poaching of IP from Netflix, and a slowdown in subscriber growth could only mean one thing: there was a reckoning coming for Netflix. In mid-April 2022, Netflix investors abandoned the company in mass. This was after it was revealed that the service had lost 2 lakh subscribers globally in the last quarter and expected to lose millions more in the next. The original estimate was actually growth of 2.5 million. This was the first time in a decade that Netflix had lost more subscribers than it had gained in a quarter. The news was a shock and immediately caused the stock value to drop by 35%. 50 billion US dollars of value was wiped out from the firm's valuation overnight. Scared investors had begun to question, has Netflix peaked? In a letter to shareholders, the billionaire Bill Ackman says, while Netflix's business is fundamentally simple to understand, in light of recent events, we have lost confidence in our ability to predict the company's future prospects with a sufficient degree of certainty. When you put his name onto a stock like that a lot of people likely followed him right down to the drain. In total, by the end of April 2022, Netflix had lost over 70% of its value since its peak. Some Netflix investors are furious. In fact, some shareholders are so unhappy that they filed a lawsuit against the streaming company. They claim that Netflix's management misled them on the financial outlook of the company. Netflix has placed the blame for subscriber loss on several reasons. They cited increased competition, people returning to work, the company pulling out of Russia, and password sharing between households, the latter of which they didn't actually mind in their early days. Of course, these explanations are absolutely valid, but it's far from the whole Netflix story. Netflix cannot simply rely on brand recognition and lazy consumers sticking with what they know when others platforms are pushing new boundaries. There's a lot of content on Netflix, but shifting through and finding the gems is becoming more of an issue than it should be. When Netflix started, its exclusive content was remarkable, but now it really seems like much less of that is being produced. The pricing model of Netflix is also compounding the problem. For instance, a standard Netflix account in 2014 was just $9 per month, and now it's pushing $16, and this is increasingly unaffordable to many households with inflation and interest rates rising. Consumers generally have less money to spend on entertainment, and Netflix is at the top of the list of things to be trimmed. It all boils down to this: why would consumers pay for content that's slowly depending on quality, which shows that run the risk of being cancelled? The Netflix HD option is currently the most expensive streaming service available, and in this market, this just doesn't make sense anymore. This is all made worse by the confirmation that the brand will be rolling out a cheaper alternative with ads. Ironically, this is turning Netflix into the exact same tired viewing experience the consumers ran away from in the first place all those years ago. During an interview with investors last month, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings confessed he had never wanted an advertising tier for Netflix. He says, and I quote, "Those who have followed Netflix know that I am against the complexity of advertising and a big fan of the simplicity of subscription." He goes on to say that advertising is necessary for those who want a lower price. This kind of behavior screams a frantic concern. Netflix. So, things aren't looking good for Netflix. Shedding subscribers, seemingly clutching at straws for revenue raising ideas, laying off new staff members, and a plummeting stock value are all terrible signs. In saying all of this, there's a high chance that Netflix has simply just had its time in the sun, it's reached its peak of profitability, and any new changes to increase it will result in more subscribers shedding. Whatever the case is, it's going to take some time to play out, maybe in the far future. In an ironic twist, we might be talking about Netflix in the same vein as Blockbuster. Anyway, that's about it from me. My name is Rishi, and you have been watching Think Again, and I'll see you again. Alright, cheers guys. Have a good one. Thank you.